What's up, guys and gals, and welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to check out something a little bit interesting and unique, and I don't think that this is really going to be a game for everybody. This is one of those games that I've really got to give you kind of a pretext before we dive on in and talk about the fact that this game is in very early access. However, I do think that the core bones of the game are very, very good, and they're striking on something that hasn't really been done. At least not as detailed, anyways. This game is called Sailwind. If you don't know what Sailwind is or you haven't seen it, that's no surprise to me because I hadn't seen it either until I was crawling lists like I often do, and I saw a couple of screenshots, and I was like, huh, what is this? And so anyways, taking a look at it, the assets are obviously very primitive right now, and the game is early on in its development. It's kind of like a one-man project, but this is a game where you are a seafaring trader. And honestly, that's kind of the smallest part of the game. The real part of the game is that you are going to sail this ship right here. You're going to control the mast, you're going to control the rigging, you're going to control the steering wheel, you're going to drop the anchor, you're going to tie it off when you get to port, you're going to control whether or not you're going into or away from the wind, and it's very much a sandbox game about just sailing around the world trading. There's only 6 or 7 islands in the game right now. It's very, very early on in its early access. There's only 3 boats available that you can get inside the context of the game, with the largest of them, I think, having 4 sails. But from what I played last night for a couple of hours, I had a really, really good time with it, even though I was busy beaching my boat and getting it stuck on sandbars and flipping it over in the middle of the ocean. It was still like a really, really good time, and in a lot of ways it reminded me of the earliest access of Jalopy, where it was a very, very unique, strange game that for whatever reason gets under your skin and you kind of want to play it more. So let's dive on in. If after watching this you wanted to support the game yourself, you can look down below in the description. I'll have a link for you there, but just heed my warning. This one is very early on. There are a lot of bugs. There's not a ton of content available. It's just that I think the idea shows a lot of promise, and I did have fun playing it for a couple of hours, and so I figured I would show it off to all of you. On top of that, you can also find a link to my Discord. You can also find a link to my Twitch stream down there where I'd love to be your host. Let's play. So there are a couple of different starts you can go with in this game. You can go with Al Ankh, which gives you access to kind of this little dhow right here, which is an old kind of Arabic ship, effectively, just used for kind of cruising around and moving cargo in like small inland bays. You can start out over here with kind of, I don't even know what this is right here, but this is a dual sail ship, and you can start out in what looks like the Emerald Archipelago. And then you can start out in Astron, which is hard, and they give you like a really big badass ship for that one that can move like a lot of cargo. And so anyways, let's start out with the simple ship first, because this is the one that I've familiarized myself with. I know the ins and the outs of how this ship functions. There's not going to be any confusion when it comes to tugging on lines and not knowing exactly what happens. This one I've got down, so we'll start here. It's going to take us right on in, and we're going to start out here at port. We've got a couple of items that we can take a look at after we get through the warning from the developer that, like, hey, this is early on. We are tied off right now. You can actually see that these lines are tied off to the dock right here, or the pier, so we're good to go. The boat's not going to go anywhere. Our anchor is up right now because you don't really need to use an anchor while you're tied off. And there's a couple of little supplementary items we have. We have this lantern right here. That's actually going to be really, really useful once we get further on into the game and it's dark out. We've got a cup. We can use the cup to get water out of this barrel. This game does have survival aspects, so you've got to sleep, you've got to eat, you've got to drink, otherwise you die. We also have to earn money so that we can buy more food and drink to keep on going and keep on trucking. We have started out with just a box of goat cheese here. I don't think we can eat out of this box. I fiddled with it for a while, and I thought that this thing was going to have like all of your goodies. Oh, you can take stuff out of it. Okay, never mind. I take it back. Apparently we can eat out of this thing. All right, so this is a crate of food. I always thought that it was like a trade good thing, but apparently if you right-click on it, food pops out. Cool, man. Well, we'll throw that right there then. And then I need my extra cheese, dude. Tertiary cheese with me. We go to great seafaring adventures. There is no combat in this game as of right now. There is no, like, cannon fire or anything else like that. I would like to see that added to the game as they continue to develop it. And then on top of that, you can't really upgrade the ships or anything. There's, like, little small things you can do, but I would love to be able to customize my ship and whatnot as well as you play through the game. Every single dock is going to have this building right here. It's basically got a little guy in it who's from, like, the Trade Concordat or, like, the guild effectively, and he'll give you jobs if you click on these little scrolls right here. There's also going to be little interactive areas in town where you can buy bananas, you can buy bread for your trip, you can get dates on a stick. You can buy the dates over here if you wanted to attempt to take them to a different port and sell them if you wanted to. I think you can eat them out of the crate as well. There's also barrels of water just in case yours gets kind of low for 120 bucks. You're probably seeing a problem here. We have 100 gold and everything else is really, really expensive. So let's get ourselves a job. We can take a look, and I think Rock City is usually like a solid choice. Al Nalem is actually not the worst choice either. We can get paid 109 bucks for a short run over to there. Is anything going to Isle of Clear Mind? No, nothing's going to the Isle of Clear Mind. Okay, well, I'm thinking we take the rum to Al Nalem, and I think that we take... Is there anything else going to Al Nalem? There is. There's water going to Al Nalem. And we've got 2 days to do that as well. So I'll take both of these. I have no idea where I'm going to put this cargo. This may get a little bit tight and cramped. All right. We might be tripping over our sundries a little bit here in our attempts to get out to sea, but I promise it's going to be okay. They want me to read the sailing manual on my boat, but I already know what I'm doing. Basically, you just got to pay attention to the windsock, and like in general, you kind of want your sail to be sort of perpendicular to whatever direction the windsock is in. There's some very specific examples where you don't want that and you want it to be very, very acute, but that's for like really advanced stuff like sailing into the wind. And honestly, I sort of feel like you can avoid sailing into the wind for the most part by just like tacking very, very aggressively. And so that's what I'm going to try to do if we get ourselves into sort of windy trouble. This boat is very small. I'm kind of overloading myself right now. This was not the smartest choice that I've ever made as far as cargo runs go. It's going to be cramped. We're going to need to kind of clear up some leg room. But if we can get both those out there, this is a reasonably short cargo run. And so it should earn us some starting cash, like an extra 200, 300 bucks, just to take care of problems if anything comes up. So I can put that barrel right there. We can take a look at our heading. So at the moment, we're looking kind of east-northeast, and the wind is going to the east. So we don't have a super fair wind. As you might recall, we're trying to go to the north, and so we're going to have to kind of get creative about the way we attack this here so that we don't end up sailing into the wind. We do have a map right here, and it looks like we need to go more or less straight north. There's no way around that. So straight north shall we go. The first step here that we want to kind of get underway is we want to kind of reef the sails a little bit. So let's go ahead and take the sails. We're just going to drop them ever so slightly. There we go. We don't want them to be fully unfurled because we'll take off. Basically, the second I untie this thing, it's going to shoot off the block, and we don't really want that. We also kind of want to get our orientation right for right now, and I'm thinking we want it to kind of be like right there. That looks pretty good to me. All right, so now we need to untie. Let's go ahead and do it, and we'll figure out how we're going to get north with this wind that is not ideal. Okay, we should be free. So let's go ahead and get behind the steering wheel, and let's take this thing out of port. All right, so we need to cut left right now. All right, we need to cut to port, and then we can readjust. But we do want to get our heading. Where did my compass go? Yeah, you can be right there. Compass, I need to go to the north. And so the north is going to be pretty much right... We're almost on it. We're almost there. We just need to adjust by a couple of degrees. Okay, if you get really crafty, what you can do is you can kind of drop the compass, and you'll be able to see it right there while you're using the steering wheel. That's a little trick that I use, is I kind of drop it like on that little beam right there so that I can sort of see it out of the corner of my eye while I'm steering. We also want to readjust the sails, so we're kind of going into the wind right now. That's a bit of a bummer. Go ahead and give me some more sail real fast. I don't really want to tack too much harder. So I think I'm going to leave it exactly where it's at right now. So I could adjust the sail a little bit more this way. But as you can see, we're going to list pretty hard. And so, like, we can pull that off right there, and that'll probably get us a little bit more speed. But that's pretty much it. We're on and off. So let's talk about the facilities here on our boat. So there's a little lever over here on this side. That's going to be for dropping the anchor. If you do plan on playing this game, I would recommend maybe use the anchor kind of conservatively. The anchor tends to bug out more than anything else in the game from what I've seen, and if it falls through the earth underneath your boat, you're basically stuck and you'll have to like restart, or you'll have to have your ship, you can push a button and you can recover your boat, but it costs money. They'll take it back to the nearest dock for you. Just something to watch out for there. On the back of the ship, we've got ourselves a little hammock that we can sleep inside of to take care of our sleep needs. And so that's also an option. Just be aware that when you sleep, you are going to pass time. So, for example, watch. I'll go ahead and take a little nappy poos right here because our meter is not that unfilled right now. So this shouldn't be the longest sleep ever. But, oh, actually, we are kind of tired at the moment. Okay, you can't break off your sleep whenever you want either, so that's another thing to keep in mind. I tend to sleep when I'm in port. That way I don't have to worry about drifting and, like, losing my bearings. It is entirely possible to kind of overshoot what you were going for. Sometimes you wake up randomly while you're in the middle of the night doing this stuff, but sometimes it's going to fill all the way up, and that's going to be that. And I haven't really been able to verify how far it's going to take you. Like, I don't know whether the time accelerates while you're sleeping, or whether the time stays, like, standardized out. It's something that I haven't really been able to verify. And actually, it looks like we came out... Okay, we diverged from our course, but that's actually where we're trying to go right there. That was the island that was way off to the distance on our right, and that is Al Nalem, where we're trying to go. How's our wind looking right now? Wind is looking a little bit rough, so we're going to need to tack. So, wind is basically opposite of us right now. Not great. We don't really have any motion at the moment. We're pretty much dead stop. So what I'm going to suggest... kind of pull this way, maybe. Just to get us a little bit abreast of the wind. If your ship's at a stop, by the way, the controls are reversed from the steering wheel. Just something to keep in mind. Yeah, we're getting beat up pretty good by this wind right here. This is not a great wind for us. Let's see if we can catch something here. So if I take this out to, like, right there, that looks like it gives us a little bit of something to play around with. But not much. But we are moving very, very slightly. And it's allowing us to come around just an eensy-weensy tiny bit. We basically just need to get that wind right there to be slightly more starboard across us. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And then if we can stabilize right here, we should be able to swing her into port, I think. But I'm going to hang tight, and I'll let you know how it goes once we get there. But we are actually in motion, albeit very, very slowly right now. Because we've managed to sort of like tack this or caravel it, basically. We've managed to establish a perpendicularity, which is what we're going for. But we're going to want to take advantage of this wind direction coming on out of here, unless it shifts on us in between now and the morning. We do need some water, so I'm going to grab my cup here, and I'm going to fill it up. And then we'll go ahead and hit the old dranky drank real fast. Perfect. Dranky drank taken care of. We'll drop that right there. Hopefully it doesn't fall anyplace weird. And it's going to be a little while before we get into port. So I'm very, very sorry to do this, but, like, we're going to have to make an edit. Here we are in the peace of the night, fighting the wind so that we can deliver liquor to the wonderful people of the world. Don't you worry, Al Nalem. The liquor delivery is on its way. I'm like Balto with a cargo hold full of vaccines, but my vaccine is whiskey and rum. Things to lubricate your mood and raise you from the low spirits that you've been condemned to. Look at the beautiful night sky in this game, dude. Like, I was actually kind of at wonder about it. I was playing the game, and, like, I was sailing at night, and it was really just kind of shockingly relaxing. Like, I put on some Wardruna, dude. Like, I was putting on, like, some Wardruna and some other, like, Viking-sounding music with just, like, that thrum and sort of, like, the drums and everything else, and it was remarkably moody. It worked really, really well. Okay, so here's the fun part where we got to slam this thing on into port. I don't know how well you can see right now. Your ship doesn't really take damage as far as I know, so you can be a little bit cavalier about this if you want to be. It's going to swing pretty hard when I go to the right, just because that's the direction the wind's in. And so what we need to do is we need to kind of pull this way, and we're going to leave the wheel locked where it's at. And there's our line right there. If I could just only click it. There we go. And then we tie that off to there, so we're reasonably safe on that side. A little bit messy, little tiny bit messy, but in my experience, good enough. We'll put that right there. Okay, and what you'll see is that now it'll automatically pull in even though I've endoed my boat into the end of the pier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little nappy poos right now because playing at night is difficult and hard to do. And then, you know. Okay, so I've got everything offloaded here. We're all filled up on our meters and whatnot. We should be in for a very, very happy client. So I'll bring the rum in there. I'll bring this rum in here. There you go. We should get paid. Did we get paid? There's more rum right there. Man, they had me running rum all day. And there we go. We've completed our missions. Now, the game does have a log, and it's very, very simple for right now. But you can raise your reputation with various factions. So all these villages remember you, they know you, and if you screw the pooch and you fail to actually deliver things properly, it will have a consequence. Likewise, if you consistently deliver on time with the stuff intact, you will get reputation with them, which will start to give you discounts on goods so that you can move them in between locations and kind of make your own missions instead of constantly taking ones from the harbor master. Nonetheless, we've got 282 gold right now, which is really fantastic considering we still have 80% of our water and like 90% of our food left. So I think we've got a solid opportunity here to really kind of bolster up our financial situation. If the sun will come up at some point, we'd actually be able to see. I don't think that the city is active at night, and so like there would be vendors and stalls and things around here that you could see, but unfortunately, since it's nighttime, they all go to bed. The game does have like a day and night cycle. You can only really shop during the day, and so just something to keep in mind. I'm going to head back to the ship, and we're going to wait for morning, I think. I mean, I guess we could just jet off. We could just leave. I mean, there's no reason for us to stay here. What's our heading looking like? We've got an easterly heading. I can't see the sock very well. It looks like, so we've got east right there. So we've got kind of an east-southeast wind. So where we want to go is Gold Rock City. Yep, that's almost exactly where we want to go. That'll give us, if we follow the wind, that'll give us a perfect heading. Okay, Gold Rock City it is. We'll put that back on the ground. And there are supplementary items you can buy in this game. You can buy, like, lantern mounts and things for your ship that you can put all over the place to give yourself a little bit more illumination. You can get fishing rods, which allow you to fish, and then you can cook the fish, and then you can eat the fish. But as of right now, the systems that are actually incorporated into the game are kind of simplistic with regards to the world and the economy. Instead, the main stuff that's implemented for right now is just like the fully interactive sailing and getting going. I mean, I can definitely see growth potential with this game, though. We've got coconuts going to Gold Rock for 200. I could do that. Yeah, let's do that. It's a 55-mile run. We got 3 crates. Oh, boy. Okay, that's more space than I wanted to fill up on. And so you can see the benefit of larger ships here, if that's what you're looking for. You fill up on cargo pretty quickly in this little tiny dhow. And so anyways, I can see a lot of room for expansion in this game. I really sincerely can. I mean, if they could get probably 15, 20 period boats into the game that you can just kind of actively swap between and, like, grab different boats. If you can set up, like, automated, like, I could see this going in, like, an X3 direction almost, where you could set up trade routes in between locations once they've got, like, more stuff going on. With the bigger ships, you could get AI crewmen. I think in my head, I know how that would work. Effectively, when you're on the wheel, left and right would make you go port and starboard for turning, and then with the Q and the E keys, you could adjust the sails direction left and right, basically giving commands to your crew like, you know, hoist sail starboard, you know what I mean? And they start to rotate it along with your button press. Like, I could see a way that you could get automated crew in this game, like AI crew, and if that wasn't good enough, if they could get multiplayer implemented, like, even with our ship right here, this is kind of a two-man job. Like, somebody needs to run the sail, and somebody needs to run basically the reefing and the tacking, and then somebody needs to run the wheel, because as of right now, there's no lanyard or anything that you can tie the wheel off with, and so it tends to drift on you a little bit. Is that all the crates we needed to take? Okay, that's all of our crates. We're looking good on most of our stats right now, so I'll probably try to refill those once I get going to where we're trying to go to. This right here is the instructions to your boat. This is the instruction manual. I don't really need it because I practiced before this episode, because this game's actually kind of hard to pick up. It's going to take you a couple hours to sort of figure out how to get this ship moving, and I haven't even played around with the bigger ships yet, but I need the sail to go down, and we need to kind of get out and away here. I believe that our sail is being blocked by that crate, unfortunately, but I'm going to try and get us a solid heading. Like I said, we're going with the wind, so once that's going straight forward, we'll adjust the sail, and we will follow that to Gold Rock City, which is the biggest city in the game. However, Gold Rock is very, very treacherous. It's basically a river that runs in between two islands, and you've got to be very, very careful not to run yourself aground on sandbars. That's the big risk there, is that sandbars will get you. All right, so I need this crate to move, and we can just drop that over here, and I'll just jump over the top of it when I need to. The wind is dead ahead, so what we need to do with the sail is we need to unreef it. Aw, dude. Is that one in the way? What's in the way here? Something's in the way. If I can put you right there, that's fine. Something's keeping us from fully unfurling, and I don't know what it is. All right, well, let me rotate this into position first. So we kind of want this to be sort of like right there. I think we might be bugged. Yeah, that might just be the physics being weird. I don't know. I thought that the crate was maybe blocking it, but I don't think it's the crate that's blocking it a little bit. Please don't slide. Please don't slide. Please stick. Crate, don't do this to me. Crate, please. I thought we were friends. Crate, for the love of God. Okay, crate's all good. We are now officially sailing away from Al Nalem, and we are on our way to Gold Rock City. I'm going to do my best not to fall out of the boat or get myself into trouble, and I think we'll be solid. I'll tell you what this game definitely needs. It needs sea shanties. That's what this game needs. So we're going kind of south-southeast right now. Instead, we want to be kind of east-northeast from what I recall. Yeah, east-northeast, so we got to adjust heading. We want to go kind of this way. Nope, wrong way, sorry. I know my difference between my lefts and my rights. But yeah, see what I mean? Putting the compass right there is actually really, really helpful, and I highly recommend that you do so. It will assist you greatly being able to see your compass while you're choosing a heading. So we need to go, I was following the wind, and we need it to be like right there. That's about right. So we'll stabilize it. Okay, that still gives us a strong weather wind. So I think we'll be okay. We just need to adjust this ever so slightly. There we go. I've got the sail exactly where I want it to be right now. It could probably do with being a little bit more starboard, but like, it'll be fine. We're on our way. You can see Al Nalem going in a different direction. Our heading is easterly. We want that to be a little bit more like that right there. That's good. We'll put her right there, and then we'll keep her right there. This game needs sea shanties. That's what it needs. I was tall and I was slim and I had a leg for every limb. But now I've got no legs at all. They've both run away on a cannonball. Quick checkup. I believe that we have Gold Rock coming into view right over there on the distance. It looks like it to me. As you can see, Al Nalem is going off way in the distance over there. Usually, you've got visual line of sight on most of this stuff. I haven't attempted to sail off the map yet and see what happens, but I assume that maybe it flips you around, or maybe it's just like you headed off into the unknown or something. I honestly couldn't tell you what happens if you sail off the map. The map is pretty small as it stands right now. For a final version, I think an acceptable level would be kind of like 4 times this size. So basically 4 squares conjoined would probably be a good way to do it, just a 2x2. With each of these comprising sort of a chart, basically. I think that would be really, really cool. But yeah, I don't know if they actually plan to put combat or anything else inside the game. I haven't taken a look at the roadmap. I don't know exactly what they're planning. But I can tell you that the core mechanics are solid enough that you'll probably get 7 or 8 hours out of this game. as of right now, just because there's 3 different ships. They all work very, very differently. Some of them are sort of caravelled, like this one, where they can work in a crosswind, and they can work almost into the wind. And then there are other ships where they definitely need, like, a dominant wind, full sheets, and they kind of move in straight lines, and there's different things. I've only learned the mechanics of this boat so far. I was planning on sitting down tonight and fiddling around with a different boat and seeing if I could learn how it works, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. The game is also pretty good for some solid panoramic shots right here. Like, you can actually take it, and if you press the C key, it'll put you into kind of a cinematic shot mode. I like that a lot as well. There are choppier seas, so there are different weather systems from what I've seen so far. This is calm seas right here. I was playing earlier today, and it was definitely rough seas where, like, the ship was going up and down and, like, woof, woof. You know, so, like, the weather system does change up from time to time. I don't know exactly what controls it, if it's, like, some kind of internal AI manager or something like that, or if it's just randomized. Who knows? But I did have kind of... it wasn't a storm. Like, I live by the ocean, so I know what, like, an ocean storm looks like. It was not an ocean storm, but it was definitely, like, choppy seas. It was one of those days where you could tell the wind was whipping up, and it was a little bit unpleasant. Like, it was not super fun to kind of try to steer the boat into the harbor in that kind of choppy water. I would also like some method of measuring how fast you're going. Like, I know that they have not given you that as of right now, and there's 2 possibilities there. You have not been given, like, a knot line that you can throw into the water, either because they don't want you to know how fast you're going. They want you to figure out how to use the sail inherently, because what you could do is if there was a way to measure your speed, you could kind of move the sail while staring at it and figure out where you need it to be by trial and error, and I'm guessing they don't want you to do that. They want you to just sort of intuitively know how the sail works from the diagrams that they've given you, and it does take some practice. I think it took me about an hour and a half to get my first... It took me about an hour to an hour and a half to make my first landing, make my first port of call, and earn some money. I beached my boat one time, crashed it into the side of an island. You can jump out and push the boat if you end up beaching it on something, and the push is very much kind of like a video game mechanic where it's like boink, and it like boinks it over a little bit. It's a little bit immersion breaking, but it's good to have that so that players can like learn without having to constantly restart. The other possibility is that it's just not implemented yet with the knot line, the ability to throw out like a buoy or something and watch how fast it's going backwards, because from this right here, it's hard to get any perspective of how fast you're moving. Like, I know that I am moving, because Al Nalem, you can't even see it anymore in the distance except for like one tree over there. And this is definitely getting closer, but this is a massive island right here, so it's going to take us a while to get closer. I know it looks small from right here, but this is actually the biggest city in the game. It's pretty large. I'll let you know once we get on over there. In addition, there is another option, just in case. With the inventory, you can press tab while you're holding something, and if you click on one of these bubbles, it will put the item on your person. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier on in the video. This recording has gone kind of long, and I'm trying to keep track of my timestamps because, like, I'm making significant cuts just to sort of, like, shorten up the journey, basically. One way that I like to figure out if the boat is moving is I just jump into the water. That's pretty much it, and then I watch how fast it's moving, and we are definitely moving right now. But as it turns out, sailboats didn't move very fast. Well, oceans are getting a little bit choppier. I went ahead and I just slept. I set a heading and I slept like a full meter's worth of sleep, and we're still not there. So like we've got time to kill. We got the lantern down right there. It looks like we've got a fairly severe crosswind right now, which is not great. We're not sailing into the wind, but we're sailing close to into the wind. So it looks like it shifted on me while I was sleeping. We may... I'm a little bit worried about capsizing in this weather. We may want to reef the sail. Capsizing is a possibility, as you just saw, if we catch too much wind. Let's take the sail up a little bit so that we've still got a little bit of push. Oh boy, yeah, it's trying to go over. Okay, winds are getting nasty. We'll reef the sail up a little bit. There we go. And hopefully this will keep us true. I hope. But yeah, that is a mechanic inside the game. If the winds get too strong and they are too perpendicular to your sail, it can actually capsize the boat. And we have... Yeah, this is pretty bad weather. This is not great. I wish that this was not happening, I'll tell you that right now. I'm not really... I don't really want to head headlong into the drink to meet Poseidon balls first. I'd rather not. It feels a little premature. All I wanted to do was practice some, capitalistic commerce here. And unfortunately, the universe is trying to kill me, and now I've got frazzle vision because I haven't been drinking water and hydrating properly. I haven't been a good hydro homie, so unfortunately, let's go ahead and take care of that small issue. How much water do I have left? Oh boy. Like when you're trying to take a drink out of a cup while you're driving down a bumpy road in like an F-150? This is kind of like the Age of Sail version of that. I'm probably dribbling more of this on myself than it's actually getting into my mouth. But there is Gold Rock. The bad news is port is directly into the wind. So I'm not in love with the situation we've gotten ourselves into. The way that I see it, we have two options because we're into the wind right now. We can cut to the right and we can tack to get wind into our sails. We can cut a long line out to the backside of the island and then whip it as hard as we can into the wind until the wind is on our side and come back around the other side. That may also save us because that wind is coming across us hard right now and I don't want to flip. So let's take her to the right real fast. See if we can catch a little bit more wind and get her a little bit favorably into our sails without flipping over, preferably. That would also be awesome. Not flipping would be the best. That has brought the wind slightly more into favor. So now... Oh, we're still listing pretty hard. That's a really strong wind. Okay, let's take the sails up a little bit further. I just don't want to flip the boat. I would love to not flip the boat right now. But this is about as good as it gets for the next X amount of time. Not great. Not great. Well, the good news first. The ocean has ceased with its grumbly tummy ache. So we survived our storm. That's really, really good. And honestly, that's something you can write home about in this game. If you survive a storm without flipping your boat, not too bad. And we did indeed survive the trip. We still have not the greatest wind, although I can't even see the sock anymore. I kind of wish they would put the sock kind of on the side of the boat over here so that you could read it a little bit better. Like at night, it's damn near impossible to see that thing without like jumping with a lantern, basically. But yeah, we've still got a fairly severe crosswind, which is not ideal because we need to shoot the gap in between. Like, I don't even know if you can see this. I'll try to brighten it up in post. But basically, we need to go that way, and it's directly into the wind. And I'm not confident that if I cut that way, I'm going to be able to dodge all the sandbars and whatnot in the dark while having an unfavorable wind. So I'm a little bit nervous about that prospect. I'm not a big fan of it. Well, I made the best of a bad situation. So what I did is I picked up speed, and I cut to the starboard until I caught the wind. It gave me enough velocity to wrench it back to port and swing it this way. And while it was swinging, I had to adjust the sail. But we've got a little bit of wind going for us right now. It's not much, but I think it should be enough to get us into port. I think. So I think we shot the gap right there and we tacked it on out. I will report back momentarily on whether or not this absolutely moronic plan worked. But I do feel like I finally have the wind a little bit here. And we're finally making, like, that storm just messed everything up. Like, it was a storm, and then it was a shift in wind direction because I had already picked my vector coming in, and then the wind shifted on me, and so now we're doing the fun thing where we kind of, like, zigzag back and forth, catching the wind just long enough to move, like, another quarter of a kilometer in one direction. And so I'm fishtailing her right now, trying to get her to where I want her to go, but the wind is not cooperating. This is the example of how you sail into the wind, though. It's pretty much just going left for a little while, then going right for a little while, getting the angle you want. It was a long and arduous process during this time period, working when you didn't have the wind in your favor. And so really the goal here is, if you're looking at the flag versus where our sail is at, I need to get all the way to that corner over there. That's the only way that the trigonometry works out on this. That's the only way I'm going to be able to swing hard enough to the right that'll give us just barely a sliver of push to get us into that canal right there. And if I time it wrong, we're going straight up onto the bank right there. Then there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Unfortunately, this is just bad luck with the wind direction. And so I tried to swing it that way, but that just made it worse, unfortunately. I think this was really our only play, unfortunately. Either way, we're going to end up into the wind going into Gold Rock City. Well, after some engineering, I managed to get her there. I think we're good. It took a little bit of effort, but we're probably on our way into Gold Rock right now. I still need this to go a little bit further that way. There we go. But we've got a little tiny bit of wind that's going to take us into port. Yep, we're moving. We managed to pull it off, man. That was an endeavor. And I think that's where a lot of the fun of this game comes from, is that it takes a simple problem like, hey, the wind is not in the right direction, and you've like mentally got to do just kind of this top-down calculus in your head to be like, okay, so I need to go that far out, I need to reef the sail, I need to cut it as hard as I can to starboard, I need to lock the wheel, I need to get back on the sail, I've got to rotate that thing as hard as I can so that we just catch that tiny crosswind, and like, you can take unfavorable winds and make it on into port. So this is Sailwinds. I hope you guys have liked it thus far. It's kind of a slow burner. This is not one of those games, I think, that's going to give you, like, pulse-pounding action and is going to keep you, you know, riveted. But at the same time, if you have an interest in being a sailborne trader, this game is working on something very, very interesting. Now, the game is $20. I do think that price is pretty high for the amount of content that's currently on offer. There's not a whole lot to do inside the context of the game except for just like sail around and move objects from point A to point B. There is no mid-game. There is no end game, really. It's basically just kind of like a toy box right now for you to play around with. But it is in early access, so if you're into Age of Sail type stuff, I would recommend maybe keeping an eye on it and seeing if, you know, at some point they're going to implement like complex mechanics and whatnot that'll keep you like super entertained. It kept me entertained. I've played for about 4 hours now, and I've enjoyed it, just learning the mechanics of this little boat here. And if it took me about 2.5 hours to figure out this boat, I figure it'll take me probably another 2.5 hours to fix up the next boat and figure that on out. This was not a game that was given to me by the developers. I bought this one out of pocket just out of curiosity and ended up having a decent enough time with it. But anyways, like I said, not a whole lot of content in the game right now. Definitely a lot of bugs, definitely some stuff that can go wrong that can ruin your playthrough. The developer has admitted that your save will be corrupted whenever he like patches and updates with content and whatnot. So just keep that in mind. You're getting on board this particular ship very, very early. But I do think that it shows promise, and I think that it's managed to kind of deliver in sort of like an entertaining, low-poly way. And so anyways, Sailwinds. My name is Splattercat. I sift through the pile to find what's worthwhile in the world of indie games every single day so you don't have to. Tomorrow I'll have something hot and fresh for you off the indie skillet, but for now, this is all I got. I'm looking forward to checking in on this one kind of year by year and just sort of seeing what they add. Bye.